morning. My name is Marion. Now, I'd like everyone to think about all the times you've ever ordered a beverage. Now, how many of those times did you order tea? I'm willing to bet not very many. Now, in the U.S., actually, is the only country where tea isn't the #1 consumed beverage besides water. According to my survey analysis, you guys don't really know much about tea, or in fact, some of you know very little about tea. Before I started working at a tea shop, I barely knew about tea myself. I knew the basics, though I found after a day or two, I started to realize there's so much information about tea. I became really interested and intrigued about all the varieties and all the uses of tea, that this whole entire world of tea instantly opened before me. Now today, the purpose of my presentation is to inform you about tea so that you may have a better understanding and knowledge about tea yourself. The main points that I would like to emphasize today are the history of tea, the uses and health benefits of tea, and also why the United States doesn't drink as much tea as the rest of the world. Now, to first touch on the history of tea, I would just like to provide some background information, such as tea is old. Tea has been around for thousands of years, and it originated in China. Now, it wasn't until trade that tea started to trickle down to the Middle East, Europe, and eventually the Americas. Now, tea is grown on plantations, and they're actually very beautiful. And teas are indigenous to certain regions, and that's where you get specific kinds of teas. However, all true teas come from the same plant. It's called Camellia sinensis, and that's a scientific name for tea. So when you hear people talk about black tea, oolong tea, green tea, white tea, it's all coming from the same plant. Now, I bet you're wondering what makes it so different from each other. It's actually the process in which oxygen reacts to the tea plant that gives it your different types of plants, or teas. So black tea has more oxygen than, say, a green tea, which has very little oxygen, and this process is called oxidation. And white tea is considered to be unprocessed, which is what gives it its purity and its lightness, and oolong tea is actually the stage between green and black tea, and it can differ, and sometimes you can have teas or oolong teas that are closer to black teas or closer to green teas, depending on its process and how it's dried and how it's oxidized. Also, many of you are probably familiar with Lipton iced tea or drink bag tea regularly. Now, I'm sorry to inform you that that is actually considered tea dust, which is the lowest grade of tea possible. So how tea is dried is the leaves are set out, and there are different racks underneath, and as the tea dries, they break into pieces, and then you get the larger leaves on top, then the smaller leaves, and then eventually the very bottom layer are your fannings or your tea dust, which is what they sweep up and put into tea bags. So, there's a large difference between loose leaf tea and tea bags. Now, there are also a lot of health benefits that come with drinking tea. Now, don't be discouraged. Even though you're only drinking tea bags, doesn't mean you're not getting some of the benefits from drinking tea. There are a lot of different uses for tea, medicinal uses. There are herbal teas or tisanes, which aren't considered true teas, but are still considered teas because of the way it's steeped. As long as you can infuse something edible with water, it can be considered tea. So that's how you get chamomile tea, that's how you get jasmine tea, flavors that are infused with other herbs or the Camellia sinensis. And with the possibilities of infusion and blending flavors is how you get so many varieties. There's such a diverse amount of teas that no one can fully know everything about all teas. That's what I mean when there is such a large world of tea that I didn't know existed before. And also, tea can be used for external purposes, such as putting them on your eyes to help with dark circles under your eyes or eye bags. Some people actually soak their feet into tea because they believe that it'll release toxins through your feet. And also, green tea is believed to prevent cancer. Black tea is known for reducing glucose levels and naturally lowering blood sugar. Hibiscus is known for lowering blood pressure. The variety is endless. So, now if tea is such a diverse herb and plant, then why isn't it so popular in the US? It all dates back to the Boston Tea Party. Ever since that revolt happened, Americans have had a negative connotation when it comes to tea, and that's something that has been passed down throughout the generations. Though today we might not realize it, that is where the stigma comes from and why we don't or aren't used to ordering or drinking tea regularly. Now, another reason why Americans might not be so prone to drinking tea is probably because they're not making it the right way. When it comes to loose leaf tea, you have to be very specific. It's almost like a science. Each specific tea has a steeping method. There's a specific temperature, a specific time, and also a specific process of steeping. So for example, black teas and herbal teas could steep for as long as 4 minutes. Some herbal teas, such as rooibos, could steep up to 7 minutes. However, white teas and green teas can only steep up to 1 to 2 minutes. Otherwise, the effects of oversteeping or having too hot of a temperature of water when steeping your water or steeping your tea can lead to a bitter taste. And that's why some people say, I don't want to drink tea because it's bitter, it doesn't taste good. Well, it's probably because you're not making it the right way. Now, also, Americans compare tea to different beverages. There's coffee. A lot of Americans are coffee drinkers. I myself am a coffee drinker. I'm sure many of you have drank coffee on a regular basis before, and as well as wine. Now, all these beverages are parallel to each other in the sense that they all release antioxidants. They're packed with antioxidants, and they are all known to have certain health benefits. Another commonality between these beverages are that they come from different regions. You can have coffee that come from different parts of the world. You can have wine that is made from different parts of the world, as well as tea. And you also have people who specialize in coffee and different types of wine. You have wine connoisseurs. Well, you also have tea masters that can be certified and specialized in tea, just as there are connoisseurs that are specialized in wine or, say, coffee. Now, to conclude, I hope that you will take the information that I've talked about today, including the history and background of tea, the different uses and medicinal benefits of tea, and why the U.S. doesn't really drink tea as much, and use it to your benefit and to open yourself up to the world of tea just as I have. And finally, I would like to leave you with a quote from Beverly Dublin from Tea Culture. For the most sophisticated tea drinker, the tea expert, tea is passion. And that's what I would like all of you to realize is tea, coffee, wine, these beverages are more than just something you sip on occasionally. There really is an art behind each one of them, especially tea. And hopefully you can enjoy tea from this day forward. Thank you.